Good news and bad news. The good news is that you guys don't have the pile of paperwork that every other school got because we were preparing them for online. They had documents to proctor, start, and all those kind of things with the computers, and it was literally, now my shred pile is about this deep. That's totally useless materials. That's the good news. Bad news is paper and pencil. We're back to the old way that we'll be doing the test the old way, but not exactly. There are going to be some new twists and turns, and we do not know what all of those are yet. The state is letting them out with an eyedropper because they're creating them as we speak. We don't know exactly which week we're going to be testing. The window starts on the 22nd. It ends on March the 18th. Somewhere in there we will have a week. We're going to put it off a little bit because we have a lot to get ready. The tests themselves were on a truck this morning at 8:30 in Clarksville, so we hope that they will drop them on us at some point today, and then we'll be ready to, at least as anyone who's ever dealt with or seen what happens when the paper tests arrive. It's sorting, there's bubbling, there's all kinds of things that will have to happen to those as they put, as someone used to say, we'll fondle the test booklets for a while and get everything ready for you guys. But that's kind of where we are. A lot of questions to be answered. Can I still use some of the references they told me I could use online? I'm not sure. Some, especially for math reference sheets and that kind of thing, we'll see what's going to happen down the line. As soon as I know, I will let you guys know. There were some fax Q&As that were answered. I sent those along to all the test coordinators. I think Ms. Perrigan has already sent those to you guys. As you open them up and look, you'll see some pieces of information have been released, and there will be more down the line. I got this on top, so I'll remind myself before y'all leave, you will have to sign my little sign-up sheet. We always do it at the end rather than at the beginning, and I'm going to put them over here on this table. Just be sure you have signed. They're both the same thing. Just make sure that you've signed one page or the other before you leave. As I look out here, I say, Jessica, it just does not look right to see you here. You're supposed to be at Dover Elementary. You just go right. Good to see you, though. You have, hopefully in front of you, I've put them on every table that I was close by, so I may have missed a couple of the tables. You have two documents. Hopefully have two documents. I've got some over here on this table. You'll notice there's one with a little short page on top. This is actually just the cover sheet for our old testing code of ethics that everybody has seen absolutely every year for the last 10 years. Not updated, all refers to paper and pencil assessment. I got together with the state and asked them to update this, but it looks like there's no real point in updating it. I just added something for computers on the top, but a lot of that doesn't apply to us anymore. So we're all the paper and pencil ethics still apply. There's a couple of new wrinkles I'm going to mention. As you test in your rooms, you do not have to take down everything off the walls as you've done in the past. However, the state has made this complicated also. You have to be certain that there's nothing on the walls that could possibly answer a question. So, if you, so there you go. You can leave up encouragements, those kinds of things, but if I had any instructional specific information, I would not trust the state to assume that that's, innocent stuff. Instructional materials, cover it up or take it down, but anything else that's an encourager or something you would just typically have in a classroom as a decoration, feel free to leave it up. Does that make any sense? Okay. And we don't, also on this little short sheet, I'm going to be mentioning this 2 or 3 times, but the state has decided to come down very hard on test security with regard to cell phones in the test rooms. And that's not just for kids. That is also for the adults. And even though this was aimed at the online assessment, it also applies to the paper and pencil assessment. If you bring a cell phone to school every day, as most everyone does, it needs to be off and put away anytime a live test is around. You can take a picture of a piece of paper just as easily as you can something that's on the computer. So all cell phones put away. What the state decided to do to everybody this year is if a child is found with a cell phone, their scores will be nullified. If an adult is found with a cell phone, they will be written up for test security breach. And you don't want to be in either one of those situations. And that includes if I'm walking through, I don't have a phone. If Janie is walking through, she doesn't have a phone. If Mr. Craig is walking through, he doesn't have a phone. Phones are, yes ma'am?
It includes iPad too.
iPads, everything, nothing. Smartwatches, if you've got kids walking around with internet smartwatches, those can't, nothing. What they're doing in some of the schools, collecting everything, putting stickies, this is my phone, whatever, and locking them in the closet. So we don't, if they're in a locker, somebody may decide they can go shopping while everybody's testing to go. That's the way one school is handling it. But that is probably the biggest change this year to the Code of Ethics and test security. That being said, we realize we're doing this because to break test security is to risk being placed on suspension. It's grounds for dismissal. You can be dismissed even if you're tenured, and your license can be revoked, and none of this is worth it. We do not discuss test items. We do not look at test items. That being said, with MI printing up these things so fast, before we get them out, we're honestly going to make sure all the pages are printed. We're going to try to do that because I do not trust this. Yeah. That all we need is to get everybody all settled in and get halfway through the test and page 14, 15 through 20 are not there. So we're going to try to make certain your tests are there. Along with that, you will, if you have a kiddo who's absent, we're going to have to revert to our old ways. There'll be either an envelope or something in your room. You've got, Fred is absent, you stick that test form in that envelope and put it up near the door as far away from you as possible. You don't want to look at it, you don't want to see it, you don't want to know. And that stands as always. We will have, and I'm just talking to you guys. You have the ability to read, so we're just going to discuss this as points come up. There will be sign-in and sign-out procedure as always. Ms. Perrigan, this will be your first year to enjoy this thrill, but every time they will check out a stack of books, we count them on the way in and sign for a certain number, and do the same when they're picked up, so we make sure we don't lose any. Over the past couple of years, Pearson has put little ID numbers on the back of every test book. We could track one down to the room, to the class, to the kid practically. Don't know if MI is doing it that way or not. But we will be counting on the way in and counting on the way out. You guys will be timing tests this year. So keeping up with clocks is very important. The state has told us you can put a starting and an ending time on the board. If your manual says that you can give kids a 5-minute warning, you can give them a 5-minute warning. But as far as giving them a 30-minute warning and a 20-minute warning and all that, you can't do anything that the manual doesn't say. But we've already cleared it for you to be able to put start time and stop time on your board and have a clock up. Not a timer. They don't want you to have a click down timer. So we can't start with 60 minutes and count down. You can't do that, but you can have a clock up. Okay? I would suggest having more than one clock in your room. Just because if it can go wrong, it probably will. So having a backup timer for yourself is really a good plan. Can children go to the bathroom during testing? You would prefer they didn't, but they may. If somebody has to go, of course, you already know your start time because you're timing this test. You write down the time Fred left, the time Fred came back, and he gets that amount of time on the end. It's like when you call time for everybody, you just say time. Fred, you can keep working, and I'll tell you when to stop. Then don't forget to tell Fred when to stop.
Just don't let Fred go.
Yeah, don't tell them they can't.
No, this is for emergency use only.
Right.
Everybody goes to the bathroom before you ever get started, and hopefully this won't happen. And since you can't use cell phones, I hope y'all have a backup way of getting word down to the office. That's one thing we'll have to come up with. Since we can't cell phone to the office, so we've got intercoms. Okay, so we're good there. Looking to see what we're trying to have proctors for everybody, making that attempt. Proctors running to wherever, if you've got an emergency, we're having to use that in some of, it was gonna be more important with the online stuff. If we were gonna have an online issue, the proctor was gonna go run, say, hey, you know, call MI for me, but y'all won't have, another good thing, y'all won't have to worry about that part. Again, with what can be on the wall, we actually had a couple situations where folks were putting some information up, organizational information, and we checked with the state about some of it, and we were told to make local decisions about what to take down. So if you have a question about something that's in your room, is it okay? We can arrange for a local decision to be made about that. Okay, so if you've got something up. But if you happen to have multiplication guides, that kind of thing, specific formulas, I'm going to tell you they're probably going to need to come down. Okay, those kind of things. They are only allowed certain formulas to have and certain reference sheets to have.
One of their examples, Rhonda, was that the history teacher had put up all of the presidents and what they were known for.
Yes.
As a no-no.
Because they had seen in Mist and Micah examples of both of those kinds of things and figured they would pop up on the test. So they figured it was a pretty sure thing that they were going to be. The state didn't take that well. That was one of the things that they had issue with. For those of you who spent so much time on Micah, and I know there were a lot of you who did, you probably feel like me that you wasted a whole lot of time. I think that it will translate in the long run for you guys. I think I probably wasted more time this year on this stuff than y'all did. I think it will eventually pay off. We will be going back eventually. We don't know when. We will go back eventually to online assessment when they have this worked out, but not for the foreseeable. They haven't even mentioned anything about next year. But Micah actually will continue to be there if people decide they want to go ahead and keep refreshing kids on that information. I just remembered it, so I wanted to pass it along. Again, I am now in this little booklet with the long front page, and have gone in. One of these days I'll learn to number the pages. I'm on like page where the odd font is and talking about information on the walls. Just make certain, again, that what you have is decoration and that you're not decorating with information that could answer items on the test. If you have anything up, look at your motive for having it up. Again, what they've done is say, here, keep things up, but boy, you better watch it. Calculator use, for the portions of the test, and I think this part 1 is the part that allows for calculator use. It'll be in your new test administration manual. They had given us test administration manuals online, but now that's not accurate anymore, so new ones will be posted. As always, they can use their school calculator for the part of the test that allows a calculator. And chemistry, a calculator is recommended and permissible for chemistry students. They may not use pocket organizers, cell phones, and CAS systems are not allowed. Computer algebra systems are not allowed.
And Rhonda, is the same thing apply like the ACT, no programs on television?
I'm sure it does. I know a whole lot less about ACT, but I'm sure they're more stringent than we are.
That would be a security breach to have any programs.
Does anybody have any questions or concerns at this point? Like I said, as things come out, we'll let you, they can have scratch paper. They can have graph. It can be graph. It can be lined.
So they can have more, that's what I was gonna ask now, I might have gotten the email from her, but, so it can be more than just one piece of paper.
Well, they've told us that they can have graph, they can have scratch paper, and there's two different kinds of scenarios there, so, yes.
Okay.
They can use their highlighters. They're still allowed highlighters and that kind of thing as well.
Thank you.
One of the emails that you're going to get from Jackie is the TN Ready math paper and pencil form. It's gonna be a little document that looks like this, and what's gonna be interesting, I think, oh, they can bring rulers. They can actually have that too, that's on here also. But what your answer sheet is going to look like is in this. And what they'll have is a space to work their problem, and then they'll have a space to put their answer. Okay, so space to work the problem and a space to put the answer. And if they don't put the answer in that box, no, nothing. They're up a creek. And there's several examples.
I'm sorry, I just, Ben.
They are up a creek.
Yes, I threw you under the bus.
But when you see this email from Jackie, print that off and get it. You might want to expose the kids to the way this answer sheet looks. So they'll be well familiar with it. Everything else, they will be able to write in the manuals, they'll be able to write in the books. For some special ed kiddos, we will have people, they might be writing and then someone else transcribing it if they have transcription as one of their accommodations. So anybody in special ed who has questions about that, we'll get with that information. And the other document is facts on the paper and pencil test, and one of them is, why do students need to complete both writing prompts in the same day? And that, y'all are accustomed to end of course tests being given all in one day. That's nothing unusual. I think when we get down to working with special ed kiddos and them doing 2 long prompts in one day, that's a little bit different, you know. We've had a little more flexibility, I think, with that. So we're dealing with that issue. Do we have any kids with broken hands or that kind of thing? Any broken arms or fingers or anything this year?
There's a freshman that has a broken arm.
Okay, so there is a oh, it's his other hand? Okay.
Is it his other hand? Okay, he types in my room, so I don't know.
So there are, with regard to typing, we do have some special ed kiddos who might have been doing dictation because their handwriting is just atrocious, unreadable. So all year long, they've been working on typing and have become to be pretty decent typers and getting their information down. And I'm trying to find out now, are we okay with them typing their response and then getting an adult to transcribe it into the book and attach both for the test? So if anybody has got a kiddo in that situation, we're trying to find out the answer to that one. So I'm going to kind of call it their own private assistive technology, and maybe they'll let it pass, but we'll see. Any questions or concerns?
If we see a kid that's not putting the answer in the answer box, that's okay to be like, your answer goes here. Is that not like making sure they're bubbling at a certain point, like on the ACT?
Let's find out. I'm going to find out more about the answer sheet so you can have kids ready for that.
Good question.
That's an
They're not ready for this.
Oh,
They're used to like the whole
nobody-
bubble sheet. This is like
it's like
completely different.
this answer sheet looks like nothing they've ever seen before.
Right.
And the other answer sheets are going to look like nothing they've ever seen before. We have been told that if a kid, this was when it was online, if a child asked an issue like, is my highlighter key here, or what, those kind of things, you're supposed to refer them to the little reference sheets we were going to have. There was a little reference sheet that was going to show you, there's where your highlighter thing is. I'll have to find out. That's a good question.
The answer sheet's gonna look very similar to like a worksheet would be anyway. So you're gonna have a little graph and they're gonna graph their line. Well, that's the same thing they would have saw on a worksheet or on something else. Or put your dot on the number line. So a lot of it's gonna look very similar to what you would have them doing on paper and pencil.
Well, we'll hope that they can figure it out, but once the kiddo has worked the problem, a lot of the time that's what they do, and they'll just kind of sashay off and leave it at that. We'll find out more, and I think for English and language arts it's going to look different still. yours is not gonna look like the one that we have here. And if they haven't posted something like that, we'll try to get it posted so y'all can at least get them familiar with it, and I'll ask that question. Anything else? As information comes out, we'll get it to you. Appreciate everybody's patience in dealing with this ridiculous change. This should have never happened. They should have been ready for this. We were ready. Across the state, everybody was ready. They were logging in. The state let us down. But we will do what we always do. We will get it done one way or the other, even if they manage not to. So anyway, y'all, thank you very much. Don't forget to sign one of these before you leave. Thank you very much.
Thank you.